The bears in the last few weeks have been mainly in the white oak trees. And for 3 weeks, almost every day, there was one in a tree right here at the corner of the cemetery. One day I got here, he was up there at 10 o'clock when I got here, and he was there, and when I left at 1:30, never did come back.
We saw some small bears going across the road, climbing a tree.
Well, even big ones go up the trees, but most of our bears are not that large. Where they're the largest is in places like Gatlinburg, where they get human food. Now, this is what we said about this church. It had more influence in the community than any one person, thing, or event. In fact, it was so influential, it was actually referred to as the invisible government of Cades Cove. And because of this church, the community became one in which people really cared about one another. They had a strong sense of belonging, and the church provided a diversion from the long hours people spent working in the fields. Got its start in 1827. In those early years, just like in the days of the disciples, they worshiped in people's homes. And you know, if you and I think about it, we can just visualize them going into those small homes, greeting each other with a handshake, a smile, often even a hug. Or we can feel the excitement of people when they worshiped in their first building. It was a log structure. It had a dirt floor. There was no backs on the pews, no glass in the windows. They just built their fire on the dirt floor, and the smoke went up and out the eaves. Then this building was built in 1887. And the wood stove stood here. Do you all think they had any trouble with people on the back row in the winter? Now this building has something really, really neat. And you know, every year, thousands of people come into this building. I would bet you that not even 5% would ever notice this unusual feature. Well, today I'm going to share it with you. Now, for me to share it with you, I need for everyone, if you will, to look up at the ceiling, look at the surface of the wood, and look for something that looks different and unusual. I am not talking about the knot holes, the nails, the hooks, the flue, the trapdoor, the stains, or the cracks. Now I'm going to give you a clue. When this building was built 137 years ago, they built it with green lumber. The sap was wet. Anyone spot something that stands out to you as unusual? I'm sorry. Very good, sharp eyes. You will see the finger and handprints of the guys that built this building 137 years ago, all over the ceiling. Do you think for 1 minute those guys that built this building 137 years ago would have ever dreamed in their wildest dreams that on October the 17th, 2024, 137 years later, you would be here looking at their finger and handprints? Anyone have children or grandchildren that like to help you do things? Look up there and you will see these small finger and handprints. Little guys were helping Dad out back in those days, just like they do today. They did not, I repeat, they did not pay their preacher. Why would you not pay your preacher? They said if you did, you just make him entirely too independent. And they didn't call him a minister, preacher, or reverend, because they said if you did that, you were putting him on the level above other people. He was called an elder. Now the church very strongly believed that there is not one person, not even one, who is more important than any other person, for whatever reason it might be, including who you are, how much money you have, how much property you own, or what your education is. To make that into a reality, they turn these pews around and face that wall. They turn these pews around and face that wall. Ladies would wash ladies' feet, men would wash men's feet. Now, I've been told by people who have taken part in those services That is one of the most touching, moving, emotional, tender experiences a human being can ever engage in. Usually not one dry eye in the house. As they celebrated Jesus washing the feet of the disciples at the Last Supper. Now, the church did not believe in musical instruments. They sung with sacred harp and shaken up music. That music is very old. It dates all the way back to the 1700s. It was brought to this country from Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. And in that music, you sing the notes before you sing the words. Now, the primitive Baptists have 4 notes. Fa, sol, la, mi. Each person is assigned a note to sing. Tenor's a note, baritone's a note, soprano's a note, alto's a note, and so forth. Please listen very carefully because the notes are going to be sung first. Fa, sol, la, mi. Cades Cove Primitive Baptist Church used for its source, for instruction and direction, any and all issues, a book. Can anyone tell us the name of that book? Anyone? The Bible. This is what they said about the scriptures. They are. We believe the truth for this time, or every other time, or ever and ever. Any issue that was not authorized by the scriptures, they said this about it: temporary, man-made, in error, and will not stand up over the test of time. Their favorite expression was, "Thus saith the Lord." When the Civil War came, as they did for any and all issues, the church went to the scriptures. After carefully checking the scriptures, they said this: the United States government is on solid ground. The Confederacy is up on a tangent that is temporary, man-made, in error, and will not stand up over the test of time. Now think about that a moment. Would anyone call that decision, right here in the middle of the South, an expedient? They made it knowing full well they were going to face persecution, hardship, great danger, and risk to themselves. Because of that decision, rebels came over the mountain from North Carolina. They took horses, shoes, food, clothing, teenage boys, as well as adult men. The rebels had this to say about the people in this valley: they're traitors. They all saw rights to the property. Things got so bad that all 3 churches closed their doors from 1862 to 1865. Well, some of the older men in this church got their deal on it, and they decided they were going to do something about it, and they did. They organized a resistance. Their leader was a 69-year-old man by the name of Russell Gregory. Today, if you walk down this pathway on your left, about 75% of the way back in the cemetery on the left, right next to the path, you'll find a tombstone which reads, Russell Gregory, murdered by North Carolina rebels. He paid the ultimate price. The rebels came in one night and killed him. Let's pretend that this is Thursday afternoon. Let's say the time is about 1:35. Most of us would be out in the fields, laboring away, perspiration dripping from our foreheads, and we hear the church bell. Everyone stops what they're doing and listens. You know, it's Thursday afternoon and the bell's ringing. After a few minutes, the bell stops. Hearts sink. Everyone realizes there has been a death in the community. And after a few minutes of silence, whatever that person's age was, the church bell would be rung that many times. For example, if the person that passed away was 49 years old, church bell would be rung 49 times. And because of the closeness to the community, by just counting the number of times the bell rung, they could usually figure out who it was that had passed away. Immediately, you men would go start digging the grave and helping out with chores around the deceased person's home. You ladies would come to the home and start helping out. If it was a man that died, the men would dress the body in the best clothing that the man had. If it's a lady or child that died, the ladies would dress the body. Ladies would be dressed in white shroud, children in all white. That night, the community would gather and sit with the family at the home place all night long. The 15th, 1934, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park was established. Most of the residents of what is now 800 square miles had to move away. Despite that fact, this church continued to meet up until the 1960s, when the doors finally closed. Today, this building is preserved and kept open for you by your National Park Service in order that you and I might come together to reflect on the history, the beliefs, and the contributions of this church to this community.